Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Talk Norwich City. I hope everyone is doing very well indeed. I thought I would come live on this Friday evening to discuss what we've seen today and also what we've seen during the past couple of months in terms of transfer business with Norwich City, and also take a look ahead to tomorrow's clash against Rotherham. It's Friday evening. Got a little red wine on the go. Work is done for the week, which I'm absolutely delighted about. And hopefully work is done for the week for the majority of you. Let me know where you're coming from in the comments section. And we're sure to have a nice little conversation this evening, because although not much has happened today, lots has happened during the last couple of weeks. For Norwich City and certainly the last couple of months, and now we know exactly what the squad looks like until the next transfer window, which comes in January, which is of course not that long away, about 10 weeks or so. Good evening to Wendy on Facebook. I hope you're doing very well, and a good evening to Michael on YouTube as well. Let me know where you're watching from this evening in the comments section. Let's start then with the big news of the day, and that's that we still have all three of Todd Cantwell, Emi Buendia, and also Max Aarons still at the football club, which is wonderful, wonderful news. Of course, we've let go of Jamal Lewis and Ben Godfrey. I think if you would have offered me at the start of this transfer window the opportunity to keep Max, Todd, and Emi, I would have certainly taken that. And you look at that squad that we've got now, it looks very strong. And I know that Watford have kept the majority of their players in which they were relegated with. Bournemouth have signed well. Blackburn look very strong. But you would say that Norwich are probably the favourites on paper for the Championship this season. Gary, good to see you, my friend. Friend of the channel. We went out to Germany together. Hi, Jack, watching from Elmswell near Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk. Oh, Gary's crossed the border. Hope you've got the passport, my friend, to get back into Norfolk. David, good evening from Cambridge. Good evening. A lovely part of the world. Wendy's in Ipswich. Oh, my goodness. There we go. Mel watching from Saudi Arabia, and Kieran watching from Aldershot. I'm always shocked how many people we have on TNC that aren't from Norwich. It's brilliant. You know, us Norwich fans are far and wide. Good evening to everyone tuning in this evening. Let's get stuck into this one. Simon, good evening, Jack. Shame to see Hernandez's luck with injuries has not improved, and also Zimmerman. Yes. We were greeted with the news today that Onel Hernandez will be out until January, 12 weeks with a groin injury, which is really unlucky. I was speaking to people before the start of the season, and even when the season had started, and I said, look, I think Onel Hernandez will have a wonderful season. He was kind of my player that I was most excited to watch. I think that Onel Hernandez is wonderful in the Championship. I think he maybe lacks some end quality that you need in the Premier League. So I think the Championship is his level, but I think he excels at it. And let's not forget the last time we were in the Championship, the season in which we won the league, he was wonderful, and he puts defences on their back foot, and he provides something that we don't necessarily have in other areas of the pitch. So to hear that Onel is out until January is a massive shame. To counteract that, Poeta is back from injury, so he should feature in tomorrow's game against Rotherham, which is great. And I don't think both of them would start at the same time. So really, bad news about Onel Hernandez, but equally good news about Parmesan Poeta being back. In terms of Zimmerman, that's a massive loss, because we've seen both Ben Godfrey and Tim Close leave in this transfer window. So we've gone from having 5 centre-backs, 5 very good quality centre-backs, to having 3, and all of them with injury, long kind of injury records. You've got Ben Gibson, who hasn't played too much football this season, and Grant Hanley. That centre-back pairing that will be featuring in tomorrow's game against Rotherham has played 90 minutes of competitive football all season. Zimmerman doesn't look a serious injury, but I don't think it will be the last of his injuries this season. Daniel Farke made it very clear today that he would have liked to have seen more more cover at centre-back, and that was one of the areas of the pitch in which he was disappointed that we didn't bring someone else in. There were rumours, certainly earlier on in the transfer window, of Ryan Bennett, and I was listening to Michael Bailey chat on his YouTube live stream earlier, and he said that there was negotiation, or at least talk between Ryan Bennett's agent and the football club, but it never quite materialised. I think that would have been a good signing to get over the line. I think we are light in that centre-back area, so we've just got to hope that at least two of them are fit for the majority of the season. Otherwise, you're looking at Alex Tete playing there, and that's not something that anyone particularly wants to be seeing. Hello from Great Yarmouth. Good evening, Corbin. Great to see you from the best part of the world. Good evening to my Aunt Kay, who's watching from Porthcawl in South Wales, a fine part of the world. Norway. We've got a lot of Norwegian and Scandinavian fans, actually, which is absolutely brilliant. Lee, again, reiterating that point, looking good up front, but injuries in our defence could prove costly. Look, I think that's always the area on the pitch that Norwich historically struggle with. That's not, it hasn't been a hindrance in previous seasons. I mean, you look at that 18-19 campaign, we shipped a lot of goals, but we still went up because we scored a lot of goals. This season, it doesn't look as if we're creating as many chances. I think that will come. I think, managing to keep hold of both Emi Buendia and Todd Cantwell is huge in that. I still don't think we've figured that number 10 role just yet. I really like it when we play Marco Stiepermann in there, but I don't know if he's necessarily the player that Farke wants in there. You look back to the 18-19 season as well. Mario Vrancic was so influential going forwards, and he's not featuring this season. So if Daniel Farke wants success from this Norwich City squad this season, he's going to have to make adaptations. I think Kieran Dowell was brought in to do exactly that, and he's out injured. I do look at our injury list, and you look at the injury list historically under Daniel Farke, and there has always been a lot of people in the physio room. Now, they're often muscle injuries, which often says to you they're being overworked, or they're being overtrained, or maybe we're just signing players who are prone to muscle injuries. It is a worry. I think when you've got such a big sample size, and, the data over that sample size is so consistent, which it has been with Norwich City injuries, that's the time to maybe start asking questions. And look, the workload isn't going to get any lighter in terms of games. I think now until January is where it really picks up in terms of Tuesday, Saturday. So going into that stretch with two fit centre-backs really does worry me. But there are positives, as Becky highlights. Can't believe we've kept Max. I can't either, Becky. I really can't. There were obviously links with Barcelona and other European giants, and they were firm, rumours that they weren't just plucked out of thin air. Barcelona were very interested in Max Aarons. They ended up going elsewhere. And Norwich City were keen to hold out on their market value for Max Aarons, as we were with all of our players. And I think that's one of the reasons why Todd Cantwell and Emi Buendia are still at the football club, as well as Max Aarons. Out of all of them three, I think Max will probably be the most important of them players to have kept, because we don't really have too much backup in that right back position. You've got Sam Byram, but again, like with Christoph Zimmermann and the other defensive players, Sam Byram is prone to injury. So if we can keep Max fit, he's probably the best right back in the division. And you look throughout the team, you've got Emi Buendia, one of the best players in the division. Timu Puki is a player who scored 29 league goals the last time he was in this division. It is packed with quality. So you would hope that Farke has the resources at his disposal now. And I know Chris is the one that constantly bangs on about it, but there really is no excuses for Daniel Farke now. And if he isn't to win tomorrow, there should be serious questions asked. I don't think there will be, but there should be. There should be. Barry Lee Cullis is watching from Lewisham, southeast London. Evening, Jackie boy. Evening, Barry, friend of the channel. That is a big old fish you've caught in that profile picture of yours. Lewisham, not too far from my house. Simon in Gateshead and the Beast in Spain. Hello, my friend. How are we? Let's have a look for any more questions. Let's go with Jamie Neve. Evening, Jack. Just curious to know if you or anyone can remember 2 seasons back to back that we've been so injury hit. Very strange and bad luck for us. Yes, agree on paper. Should have the squad to do well, but is Farke the man to do this? Jamie, it's good questions, and you've highlighted issues in this squad here. Let's start with that injury point. Look, I've touched on it. You can say it's bad luck, or you can say that because it's been happening over such an amount of time, maybe we are at fault. I think luck is when it's out of your control. And I think bad luck is maybe, losing, a player to a bad tackle or something like that when it's out of your control. You feel as if, not always, but sometimes muscle injuries can be dealt with slightly better by not overworking players, by resting players in congested periods of time. I don't think the internationals help. I mean, you look at Teemu Pukki, Adam Ida, Max Aarons, Oliver Skip. They've gone from playing 3 international games. They then get a plane, a flight back into the country. They then train. They then play. They then have a game on the Tuesday. It's very intense for these guys. And I know that they're professional athletes, but for anyone, that's a lot of football to be playing. And under Daniel Farke's regime that we all know so well, of training double sessions, that doesn't help. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's bad luck, and maybe the way in which we're set up to train. But with that, you can also say, well, certainly in our last title winning campaign, we were one of the fittest squads, and them late goals were so key in that success. And it was down to kind of mentally being better than other sides, but also physically better. We just outrun teams and we outdid them. A quick mention for my Ko-fi page. Hello, it's down there. There's a link in the description. A Ko-fi is a one-off donation service or monthly donation service. If you do donate monthly, you get a daily podcast delivered to your email inbox by 9 a.m. every day. We've done it for 2 weeks now. You might be able to see the bags under my eyes from the early mornings. But it's great fun, and thanks to everyone who's already on board. There's a link in the description if you want to help out with the channel. Young Alfred says, if worse comes to worse, then you could place Tete at centre-back or blood in a youngster. Yeah, look, if the worst case scenario is tomorrow, Grant Hanley or Ben Gibson gets suspended due to a red card or gets injured, and then you're down to one fit centre-back. Of course, Alex Tete can play there. Of course, I don't know, you could probably push. Actually, I can't really think of anyone else to play in there. Or you bring in an under-23. And I know that the under-23 players are very highly rated. So that is an option. But when you're a team that has cash in the bank and has had time to plan for this, Ben Godfrey's departure would have been known about for weeks. Tim Close's departure would have been known about for weeks. This hasn't just suddenly been sprung upon us. And we know, I've said from the very off, the teams that will finish the highest this season will probably be the teams that have the most depth. And Norwich have been able to retain players because of, we don't have the financial restraints of some of the squads in this division. I don't think it's good enough that you're going into the rest of the championship campaign with such a limited amount of centre-backs. And we know it's been an issue in recent seasons. I think Daniel Farke will probably agree with that. He said in his press conference today that he would have liked more cover there. So look, I think we've probably done that to death now, but let's just hope and pray that we don't see any more injuries, especially tomorrow. Michael Daniel says, I'm shocked that no one has snatched Emi Buendia. Has the transfer window closed or is it open for a couple more hours? Yeah, the domestic transfer window is shut. It's shut at 5 p.m. UK time today. And the next transfer window where players will be able to be bought and sold is in January, which I think, if my maths is right, that's about 10 weeks away. So there isn't long until the next transfer window, but I think in that time Norwich City play over 20 games, so there's a lot of football to be played, and keeping Emi Buendia is massive. I genuinely think he's one of the best players in this division on his day, and he needs to be on his day. And his statistics and all of that stuff in the Premier League probably weren't good enough. You can look at chances created, but you kind of want hard stats, don't you? You want goals and you want assists, and he didn't get enough of them in the Premier League. So it's a big season for Emi Buendia, because he'll be looking to develop his career, whether that be with Norwich City or elsewhere. He should be playing regular football for Norwich City. I think his attitude might be a problem. I mean, Daniel Farke has alluded to that. I think it's a case of managing these egos, though, and I think there has been issues with that in the past with Daniel Farke and not being able to manage them egos. We've seen it with the more senior players in recent seasons: Stephen Naismith, Cameron Jerome, Russell Martin, Wes Hoolahan, that kind of era. And we may be seeing it here with Emi Buendia and Todd Cantwell. Nelson Oliveira, you could throw into that hat as well. So it's going to be a fascinating few weeks for Emi Buendia in terms of the short term. Him and Todd Cantwell, will they be played? It's also going to be a really fascinating few weeks and months for Moritz Leitner and Josip Drmic, because them two, as well as Tom Tribal, were offered out to clubs. They said they were welcome to leave. I think that's partly down to wages. I think they'll all be on fairly significant amounts of money. And it will also be because Daniel Farke clearly doesn't see a future for them at Norwich City. Slightly surprising, I think, with Moritz and Tom, because they were both very influential in Norwich's last title-winning campaign. And I know that football moves quickly, and it is not necessarily a bad thing that they're not being included. But you look at the midfield options that we've got, I'd certainly say Tom Tribal's above some of them names in there, and I'm not going to mention them because I know I'll get in trouble. And I think Moritz Leitner is as well. Tom Tribal has got his move to Blackburn Rovers, who, by the way, I think have done incredible business. They've signed Harvey Elliott, Barry Douglas today, as well as Tom Tribal. That's an incredible trio to be adding to an already good Championship team. So look out for Blackburn towards the top six of the division this season. For any betting people out there, you can still get 9-4 on Blackburn to finish in the top six. I think that's a shrewd bet. Gamble responsibly. But yeah, I think Tom Tribal could have done a job in this squad this season. So for them two players in Josip and Moritz, do they get reintroduced back into the side? I don't know. You would hope so, because there's a lot of money being wasted if not. I don't think Josip Drmic is better than Adam Eady, Jordan Hugill and Timu Pukki, but it might be game time in a cup competition, or it might be game time towards the end of a game. At the end of the day, he's a player that's had a significant number of international caps, so he can't be completely overlooked. And it would be sad to see Moritz Leitner simply rotting on the bench. So I hope that there's a future at the football club for them too. I don't know what the original point was there. Sorry, I've completely forgotten. All right, let's answer a question from my mum, because she's TNC's biggest fan, isn't she? Do you feel Rotherham are a stronger team? Now, no, I don't. But mother, having looked at the league table today, I was very surprised to see that Rotherham were actually above us in the league table. They will be very well drilled under Paul Warne, who is, of course, a big Norwich City fan. He'll be missing the game tomorrow due to self-isolation rules. He, I think, has a family member who's tested positive for COVID-19, so he won't be in the dugout. But as we've seen with David Moyes at West Ham, that doesn't seem to make too much of a difference. So I don't think you can read into that too much. They certainly haven't got the quality in the squad that we do, but they will be desperate, absolutely desperate to survive in the Championship this season. They're almost the Norwich City of the division below. They're bouncing in between League One and the Championship quite regularly. We're bouncing between the Premier League and the Championship quite regularly. We should be beating Rotherham, but we've struggled against them in previous meetings. I mean, I remember watching us get beat there in the season under Alex Neil, where we could have gone up automatically. We were still in with a shout. Gary Hooper scored a screamer that day. My memory, I think, is correct here. Lewis Grabban headbutted someone. We lost that day. We ground out a really important victory at the New York Stadium last time we went up from the Championship. Ben Godfrey and Kenny McLean scored that day. They were very good that day, Rotherham. I remember the home game in that season as well. We went 1-0 down, didn't we? And ended up winning the game. Todd Cantwell scored his first championship goal that day. So they're no mugs, Rotherham. We can't get carried away, and they're above us in the table for a reason. Norwich have had a very poor start to this season. The only win coming against a fairly depleted Huddersfield side. A point against the Preston side I thought was a good point on the day. We were awful against both Bournemouth. And to be fair, we weren't awful against Derby. I think it would be unfair to say we were awful against Derby. We should have won that game if it wasn't for Pookie falling over on his penalty. So Norwich will be the favourites against Rotherham. But it's an important game for Norwich, really important, because you don't want to be losing too many more games in this division, because you quickly lose pace of the pace setters. And Farke will be desperate, absolutely desperate for a win. Richard Churchyard, we won't get anywhere near the money for Max, Todd or Emmy that we would have done this window. That's a really good point, Richard. And I said going into this transfer window, Norwich City have to be really careful here. It's all well and good keeping hold of your best players, and in an ideal world you do, because, you know, Max, Todd and Emmy will, of course, will have a positive influence on Norwich City this season, as would have Ben Godfrey and Jamal Lewis. But you also need to sell your assets at the right time. It's like, I don't know, selling stocks or something. You sell when the time is right, and you sell when they're at their most valuable. And you would have thought that would have been this transfer window. They've come off the back of being in the Premier League spotlight. All of them, can hold their heads high from their performances in the Premier League. But it's worth noting as well, I don't think clubs were as willing to spend big money because of COVID, and they don't know how their financial forecasting looks. And there's just that uncertainty surrounding football at the moment. And you add to that, there are always clubs who panic in the January transfer window and will be willing to splash big money on players. So I don't think that's as much of a worry as I had going into the start of the transfer window, because I was worried that we might sell on the cheap, and we haven't done that. £40 million for Jamal Lewis and Ben Godfrey is a really significant amount of money. And you look at them names there, Max, Todd and Emmy, as long as they continue to perform in the Championship, I don't think their value will drop too much. I hope not. Anyway, I really hope not. Let's see whether we've got any other comments. We do. David Cook. Hello, David. How are you, my friend? Asked this the other night when you were on with Chris. Do you think Farke is too stubborn? Players seem scared to shoot, and Farke doesn't seem to want to change his formation or style of play. Yeah, it's a good question. I wouldn't call it stubborn. I think some of his substitutions are questionable at times. I think he leaves his substitutes too late. I mean, we've seen that with Jordan Hugill this season. I don't think any player can be expected to make an impact when they're being brought on in the 87th, 88th minute. I don't think tactically he's maybe that stubborn. I mean, his the way in which we've played this season has been very different. We've been looking to attack the flanks a lot more and throw crosses into the box, which hasn't worked because we don't have a target man on the pitch. He's on the bench. I mean, we've scored one headed goal this season, but that was partly thanks to Declan Rudd's mistake. I would like to see, I think it's in-game management that I think Farke maybe lacks slightly. I think it's the ability to change the game during the game is really important. I think that Derby game was a key one. We set out and we tried to attack and we tried to get the early goal. And then when the early goal didn't come, we were just kind of stuck. Derby played very deep. It was obvious their only way of scoring a goal that game was going to be on the counter attack or via a set piece, and it came via the set piece in Wayne Rooney. So I think it's the in-game stuff that Farke maybe lacks slightly. So hopefully that improves this season, because I don't think Farke is going to be sacked anytime soon. I'm still amazed that there isn't more pressure on him. As I keep saying, I can't think of another football club in the whole of the EFL and Premier League included where you can go 14 games, pick up one win and still have guaranteed job security. So hopefully Farke improves. We know he's got it in him. The season that he delivered when we won the title was brilliant. And there were glimpses of that brilliance last season. But ever since, the start of lockdown, we haven't seen anything good, really. So we just have to hope that turns, because you can get in a rut. And that's certainly what we're in at the moment. Sean Kutajar, hello Sean, hope you're well, my friend. We still have the players to do a job. Just hope Farke knows his best 11, but truthfully, not that confident. Great job, Jack. Keep up. Well, thank you, Sean. I think you're the Sean Kutajar I know, so good evening to Yarmouth's finest. Look, I think there's a lot of doubt surrounding Daniel Farke, and I wouldn't begrudge anyone who thinks that. I think you have to be slightly reactive in football, and you have to go with the times, and you can't be too reminiscent. And Farke over the past 6 months simply hasn't been good enough. I think part of the blame has to lie with Stuart Webber and the recruitment, although I think the recruitment's been good, especially coming into this season. It was horrendous last season, but that's gone now. This season, Daniel Farke has everything he needs, maybe a centre-back light. But except for that, I don't even think that's an excuse. I think, most clubs in the Championship would be very happy to have Grant Hanley, Ben Gibson and Christoph Zimmermann at their disposal. Grant Hanley and Christoph Zimmermann both have played Premier League football, both have won Championship titles. Ben Gibson was an £8 million player a few seasons ago. That's still a very good roster to pick from. So I don't think there's any excuses this season for Daniel Farke, and he has to deliver, and he has to deliver quickly. Jed France, hello, my friend. How are you? Good to see you in the comment section. Predictions for the Old Firm derby. There's a few cracking games tomorrow, isn't there? We've got the Old Firm, we've got the Merseyside derby, we've got the Milan AC against Inter derby, and we've got Norwich Rotherham. Of course, that tops the bill. I must admit, mate, I have not followed Scottish football at all this season. Let me have a quick look at the table. I would have thought that Celtic will be favourites, but oh God, delving into Scottish football is always dangerous, isn't it? Because everyone's very partisan. I prefer Rangers, so I'll go for a 2-2, a bit of a Desmond. And I hope for your sake, Jed, that Rangers come out on top in that game. Who else have we got in here? This is a good question. Can I ask, where is Sorensen? Might be a stupid question, but I haven't seen or heard of him since the signing. I wish I could offer more insight, my friend, but I don't know. I really don't know about Sorensen. We signed him with great potential. This is Jakob Sorensen, of course. I think a more defensive-minded midfielder than some. And I would have liked to have seen him in the squad. We might see him in the squad soon. I hope we do. You look at him, and I know he's still at the club, but you also look at Daniel Sinani, Soto, players like that who've just been loaned out. And you think, could we have maybe kept them? Could we have maybe done with them in the squad? Because I know that the development of these players is crucial, and because of that, you need to be playing regular games. So for Sinani and for Soto, it's important they're playing games, despite them playing not the best, standards. So I kind of get that one. I don't get Sorensen. If you sign him, don't play him and don't loan him out, then what was the point in that? So hopefully we see Sorensen soon. I don't think there's any injury concerns surrounding him. I guess that Farke simply has favoured Kenny McLean and Lucas Roop so far this season. And, you probably would because they've got a slightly more established career, but they've hardly, set the world on fire. So that there's probably room for Jakob Sorensen to be in there. That's for sure. Ryan Bennett signing. Has Ryan Bennett signed for Swansea? I didn't realise that. I would have liked to have seen Ryan Bennett at Norwich, and I know that a lot of people would disagree with me on that. But I think Ryan Bennett's a really good centre-back. I thought he was a very good centre-back when he played for us. I think he's come on a lot since that point. As well as that, I think he would have wanted to play for Norwich. I mean, his family still live local. He's from Hemsby originally. I know, you can't read into that too much, but I think when you get to a certain age in your playing career, you start to, other things start to come into your mind, and players probably want to start settling. South Wales is a lovely place to call home, but I would have thought that Ryan would have liked to have been back in Norfolk. So I would have loved to have seen Ryan here. I know that the club were interested in signing Ryan Bennett, but it obviously didn't work out. Swansea, another team who look strong this season. I'd have them and Blackburn as my dark horses to get promoted this season. Right. Let's do a few more questions, and then I'll let you lovely people leave. Gogglebox is on in half an hour, and I know you don't want to be missing out on that. Okay, this is good. A Rotherham fan. Hi, Jack, Rotherham fan here. You may have already answered this, but what starting 11 are you expecting to start tomorrow for Norwich City? Do you think Norwich will get an easy win? Well, let's answer that last bit first. No, I don't think it will be easy for Norwich. As I've said already, you're above us in the table for a reason. I know it's very early doors, but you could argue that Rotherham have probably had a slightly easier start. What they had, the win was against Wickham, the draws were against Birmingham, and I can't remember who else. I looked at it earlier. I think their run's been slightly easier than Norwich City. But no, I don't think it will be easy. I don't think it'll be easy at all. I think the starting 11 won't be too different from what we saw against Derby, although Cantwell and Stiepermann are both injury doubts, so maybe you'll be seeing. Actually, I don't think that front four will be anything like what we saw against Derby. When you think about it, I think Emi will be in there. I think Poeta will be in there. But now that he's back fit, I still think Timu Pukki will be starting. Although, don't be surprised if you see Jordan Hugill starting, because Daniel Farke made it clear today that Timu Pukki has had a very intense international break. He played a lot of minutes for Finland and had to have a pain-killing injection before the last game that he played as well against Derby. So he's maybe not at his most physical prime. But in terms of that, I think the defence will be very similar. It will be Ben Gibson next to Grant Hanley because of Christoph Zimmermann's injury. Max Aarons will be at right back. Javi Quintero at left back. Tim Krul in goal. The midfield is a really interesting one. Whether Kenny McLean and Lucas Roop start again, I would have thought there might be one change in there. And then going forwards, as we've mentioned, I think your guess is as good as mine on that one. The good thing is, as I just mentioned there, we do have options. So that's certainly promising. Right, a couple more comments. Harvester Game, respect for doing this live stream on your own for our entertainment. Well, if it's entertainment, that's up to you. But I always like to just debrief come the Friday and see where we're standing going into the weekend. And of course, Norwich haven't played for 2 weeks. I'm desperate to see Norwich back in action. If you are, or if you aren't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe. And we'll be doing a live stream for the game tomorrow. We'll be doing a watch along. We'll be going live at 2:45, and we'll be following the action. So if you want to put us on a second screen while you watch a buffering iFollow, then please do. We will be here at 2:45 tomorrow. Hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, and you'll be notified when we go live. And thanks for watching, my good friend. Craig Bailey, are you and Chris related, as you both have the same surname? We do both have the same surname. And if not, how long have you known each other? Craig, a magician never tells his, what's the saying? A magician never tells his tricks. A magician never reveals his secrets. It's something like that. I don't know whether me and Chris are related. Who knows? We'll leave that down to you watching at home. Okay, this is a good final question. We'll end here from Will Grant. Has your mind changed on us winning the championship? Slightly. I think I expected the squad to be different from when I predicted that we'd win the championship at the start of the season. If you haven't seen that video, then head over there and watch it. I think the most shocking prediction so far is that Nottingham Forest will finish in the top 6. They're still without a win. So we'll see how that one goes, whether Chris Hughton can turn that around. It's really tough to predict the championship at the start of the season, but I mean, you still look at the squads on paper, and you would expect Norwich to be in the top two. I think Watford have done well to keep players. Brentford have lost Ben Rama, and I think that will be a big loss for them. I don't think they were as strong as they were when I did that prediction video. I don't know. I don't think the start has been particularly good for Norwich City. But on paper, the squad is still more than good enough to at least finish in the top 6. So you would hope that this form does turn around, and I'm willing to give it time. But as I've said multiple times in this stream, it has been a long time since Norwich City put a winning run together. So you need to go on good runs in this division to finish high up. And there are some good squads in this division this season. I've mentioned Swansea, I've mentioned Blackburn. You've got the obvious contenders in Watford. Bournemouth have been a lot better than I thought they would be. And then you've even got the likes of sort of Bristol City and teams like that who there's always a couple of them that surprise you. So there are 6 or 7 really good teams in the division, and you just hope that Norwich are one of them. I think the recruitment has been good this window, actually, and I think keeping hold of 3 of our main talents should be applauded. It's just whether Farke can get the best out of them, because they'll obviously have had their heads turned at some point. That's, there's no question about that. There were big teams in for all of them players, and they'll be looking at, Max will be going, oh, I could be playing at the new camp, but now I'm going to Rotherham, and Todd will be going, oh, I could have been playing for Leeds under Bielsa, but I'm playing at Rotherham, and Emmy could have been playing anywhere he wanted to, probably, but he's also in the team. So it's a matter of them getting their heads down now, and that also there is responsibility at Daniel Farke's feet to get them playing. And you just really hope that he can get the best out of them, because at the moment it feels as if Daniel Farke is ruining that legacy slightly, because Norwich fans and football fans in general are very short. They have short memories, and that's fine. But you just look at Daniel Farke's last 6 months, and it's been a horror show. And it's easy to forget sometimes the really good things he's done. So hopefully this all turns, and we can hold Daniel Farke in a really good light that he should be, and that he once was. There we go then. Yeah, that was the saying. A magician never reveals his secrets. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. So I'm just hoping that we get 3 points tomorrow. Thank you so much for all of the lovely comments, and for everyone watching on this Friday evening. Whatever you're doing over the weekend, enjoy it. If you are interested in the morning podcast, as I say, there's a link to the Ko-fi page down in the description. If you press support there when you get there, and then press monthly, and you can donate as little as £3 a month, you will then get a daily podcast all about Norwich City delivered to your email inbox by 9 a.m. every weekday, about 15 to 20 minutes in length. And everyone who has been listening to them has enjoyed them so far. So I hope to see you over there very soon. As I say, have a lovely weekend. Join us tomorrow from 2:45 for a watch along of Rotherham versus Norwich City on the Ball City. And I'll see you again very soon.